Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at AGL Metal Cooler after his recent Extreme Z Awakening on DBZ Dokkan battle. So Cooler recently got his EZA, obviously as a part of the Metal Cooler Extreme Z battle, which I'll leave a link to in the top right hand corner. Now, Cooler is a pretty interesting unit. He actually has a really nice EZA. He looks really solid, and if I'm speaking quite plainly, I actually think he's been done really well. Yes, it is just technically raw defense at the end of the day, but I actually think Metal Cooler is a very good unit. So in terms of his leader skill, he has 170%, Wicked Bloodlines lead with Extreme AGL lead of 120%. He will raise attack for 1 turn, cause immense damage to the enemy and lower attack and defense. He has Ki +2 and attack and defense of 150%, plus an additional attack and defense of 20% with each attack received up to 100%. He will also gain an additional Ki +1 and chance of performing a critical hit of 20% when there is a superclass enemy. You also have an additional Ki +1 and chance of performing a critical hit of another 20% when there is a pure Saiyans category enemy. He will recover 10% HP at the end of the turn in which an attack was received. The core will appear when conditions are met. The core appears or arrives when HP is 50% or less once only. So that's a pretty nice passive. Honestly speaking, I think it's really solid. In terms of link set, he's got some wonky ones. He's got auto regeneration, which is a great link, just not shared with a lot of units. He's got Nightmare, Thirst for Conquest, Strongest Clan in Space, Big Bad Bosses, Transform, and Fierce Battle. Now the big thing here is going to depend a lot on if the new Metal Cooler LR has the name of Metal Cooler. So for example, if the brand new Metal Cooler LR is called Metal Cooler Big Gete Star or something, then all of a sudden this guy could have literally a perfect linking partner. And that could be very interesting because auto regeneration gives this guy 5% damage reduction. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it does matter. And Transform gives him another 10% defense. So if he has a unit that has those, plus Thirst for Conquest and Big Bad Bosses, all of a sudden he could be closer to 600k defense, and also he could be sitting in a position of having 5% damage reduction, which is quite a lot when you start to stack it on to things like Whis items, etc. So Metal Cooler looks pretty good. The Metal Cooler core only has Ki +2, but that's okay. Metal Cooler core is more like an emergency situation, very similar to Goku's Rage mode. It's just there to essentially deal some damage and save you from dying. So we've got him here in the situation. He's going to be facing a superclass enemy, so we're going to see how that crit chance works. Obviously, it's a superclass and a pure Saiyans enemy, which is a big deal for Cooler. Now, right now he doesn't have a 200% lead. I do assume that will change when the new LR Metal Cooler comes out. So because the new LR Metal Cooler will probably lead artificial life forms, I think, I'm kind of just guessing he's going to lead artificial life forms, or he'll lead target Goku, to include obviously the previous Cooler as well on this team. But yeah, because he will probably lead a category, obviously, that Metal Cooler is already on. By default, he'll get a 200% lead skill. So we have all the major links active here. We have Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses active. My Cooler is link level 10. I got him to link level 10 a very long time ago because I actually have liked Metal Cooler for a while. I think he's just a very cool unit and I really enjoyed his animations when he first came out. But yeah, so he's going to get hit once. That's going to trigger one of his stacks. He does need to get hit 5 times for his full stacking capabilities. But 4.2 million, very good. 40% crit chance, immediately, very solid. Super duper strong. Very good opening salvo. My Cooler does have 1 dupe in him, so he is currently at 69% in the hidden potential system. So obviously that is just something to be aware of if you are comparing your Cooler or wondering how yours is going to do. The first dupe is the most important as well, so he is pretty solid. Obviously link level 10 as well. So right now we're very, very solid in terms of his overall performance, at least from my side. So yeah, personally speaking, obviously a great showing by Cooler. 100% of course could be a little bit better, I guess, but I think the amount of time he takes to ramp up really isn't too bad. If you look at how long it takes him to ramp up as a unit, it's generally not that bad. It's actually quite chilled. 5 attacks is not the most to take, so he's looking pretty solid. Here we'll have 1 stack. We have some support as well, obviously, from the Turles. And we've got 4 links with Frieza, who, by the way, is Cooler's best linking partner as at this time. All the major links are hit. We got Thirst for Conquest, got Big Bad Bosses, and we also have Strongest Clan in space. And you can see defensively, he looks pretty solid. 280,000, very, very good. Gonna build up some more stacks here, build up another stack here. So that's 3 stacks in total so far. We should get 1 more, which puts us at 4 out of the 5. And then all of a sudden we're at 6.6 million and we look absolutely insane. So you can see once the stacks build up, Cooler's looking very solid. At this point, his defense, I'm going to wager would be at around the 360, 375 mark, which is obviously very, very good. I think the only real thing they could have done is maybe just made Cooler raise defense on a super attack. Cooler doesn't have built-in additionals, so the most additional super attacks he could do is 1, which means, in a worst case scenario, Cooler would have raised defense twice in a turn, which would have maybe pushed him up to 650k defense if you get both of them and you have him rainbow, which is good. It's very good, obviously, but he would still take 500k from some of the red zone bosses type neutral attacks. So personally speaking, I think it's quite fine. Obviously, they do counteract that a little bit. You do recover 10% health immediately every turn with Cooler after he gets hit, which is obviously very, very good. So what we're going to do here is we are facing an extreme enemy. So this is for 2 reasons. 1, we want to see the lack of the crit chance and the key and how that affects Cooler. And then also we want to see, obviously, how he does when he's fully stacked up. So the idea is for him to receive all 5 stacks, and then we can look at his defense. Obviously last turn we saw the attack stat, but we didn't really see the raw defensive number. Here we're rocking a slightly different team. We're rocking a Wicked Bloodlines only team. Obviously Cooler will thrive on most teams that he's on, but I think Movie Bosses, Terrifying Conquerors, Wicked Bloodline are kind of where he's really at his best. But he's a huge buff for Corroded Body and Mind. A lot of people forget that. He's a huge buff for Corroded Body and Mind. Artificial Life Forms under the AGL cell. Gets a new unit that they can use. Power Absorption. So he does have a 200% lead right now under the AGL cell, but I can't really find any AGL cell friends. So that kind of throws it out the water right now. However, that cell will be on the Goku and Vegeta banner based on my predictions. So yeah, very, very, very good unit overall. So obviously one thing we're not going to see, at least in this showcase, is Cooler's transformation into the Metal Cooler core. Now the Metal Cooler core is obviously super helpful, but again, it's a giant form. So essentially the premise of it is that it's going to help you do some damage and prevent you from taking damage from the enemy. It can be very good, but the thing is that the critical hits from the initial passive will not carry over. So it's both good and bad because it's kind of counterintuitive to the base build you want to build him at. So the thing is, when you're building Cooler as a unit, you kind of want to go for additionals. I know it sounds weird, but because he's got that base 40% crit chance against a large portion of the game, you kind of want to go for the additionals. At the same token, you kind of don't, because lowering attack and defense and raising attack for 1 turn are not useful in events like Red Zone. And also, the thing is, in Red Zone, Cooler will not have his base 40% crit chance made. I don't like to build units solely for Red Zone. I think to truly maximize Cooler's kit, you have to go for additionals, because he is a unit that's designed to thrive against superclass enemies. There will come a time where there'll be new superclass events, whether that's LGVEs or GTs or legendary Goku events, the Infinite Dragon Ball histories, whatever it is. There will come a time where you essentially need Cooler to take on a super hard superclass event. And for me, I would rather have Cooler thrive in that environment where he is best primed than kind of changing up his build to use him in red zone super efficiently. You can decide how you want to use him. He's a unit that can do red zone. The crit is just going to help him with obviously doing bigger damage in red zone. But the thing is, at the end of the day, is that Cooler as a unit is just very, very solid. So for me, personally speaking, I would go full additional, but it can be entirely up to you. You don't need to build him my way, you can build him however you wish. But definitely, I would say that based off of his passive, you obviously want to go for additional. Now in terms of Cooler himself, his total boost is 400% after he receives attacks 5 or more times, which is pretty good. Not to mention, he also has a very strong link set. Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses are very strong links that give him 40% attack and defense at the start of turn. Then, if you couple that with links like Transform and Auto Regeneration, he actually has a pretty strong link set. Weirdly enough, Physical Lord Slug, who is obviously not the best unit in the world, but when Physical Lord Slug gets his EZA, he could be the best pairing partner for this Cooler, because both of them are on Giant form, both of them are on movie bosses, and both of them are on Terrifying Conquerors. Both of them are on Space Traveling Warriors, which means at some point they probably will get a boost, and Lord Slug shares Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, and Transform, and Nightmare. So not only is he giving 50% defense, but he's also giving the most attack and 3 key. So him and Metal Cooler actually share a crazy amount of links. So if they bring out an LR Lord Slug, or a new DFE Lord Slug, or even just EZA, the old Physical Lord Slug, you could see an incredibly powerful pairing. So that could be something that's very interesting. Obviously, I personally think that'll be a pairing to watch. But the Movie Bosses team has got a lot of buffs, obviously, to correspond with the movie heroes kind of theme. And it just looks really, really good. Cooler shares links with a lot of characters. It's not just, Tech Frieza. He shares 4 links with pretty much everyone of note. Strength, LR Cooler, pretty much everyone. So you can see at 377,000 defense. That's pretty good, considering the fact we don't have defensive equipment active. And we're still technically missing Transform, and we have 1 more stack to go. So we're definitely over the 400k mark, which is very, very good. So over 400k raw defense. Didn't take him too long to get there. We got a little bit unlucky with the placement of attacks, which is why it feels like it went a little bit far. But really, really solid. 400k defense with only 1 dupe, considering he still has a little bit of defense to get from his passive. Not to mention the fact that you can still give him defensive equipment. He's looking pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. He's looking really, really impressive. I, for one, think he's quite good. I really like what we've seen from him so far. And like I said, links wise, he doesn't have that outright best linking partner yet. For all we know, the new LR Metal Cooler could, in theory, be called anything else. If this LR Metal Cooler is called anything, barring Metal Cooler, then basically we are like, this Metal Cooler is going to be in. Because if they share Transform and Auto Regen, alongside Thirst for Conquest, Strongest Clan in Space, and also the Thirst for Conquest sync, they're not going to share Fierce Battle because the new Cooler is from an LR banner. So it could be pretty nuts. It could be very, very nuts. So yeah, in terms of link set, Cooler's got a pretty strong one. He doesn't share 5 links with anyone, but he shares 4 links with a lot of good options. So you've got the Tech Transforming Frieza, great option. You've got the LR Strength, Cooler, the brand new one, great option. You've got the AGL Metal Cooler, not the best option right now, but a unit that is very likely to be one of the next units to get his battlefield EZA, which means he'll be a great option. Tech Final Form Cooler, I did a review on this guy, also a fantastic option. Physical Final Form Cooler, also a fantastic option. AGL Freezer, also a fantastic option. And also you've got Extreme Int Garlic Jr., which, surprisingly enough, you guessed it, is indeed a fantastic option. So plenty of good choices for him, some of them to varying degrees. Not all of them are going to be huge ones, but I mean, if you look at him and Garlic Jr., so Garlic Jr. and him both have very similar passives. So Garlic Jr. has attack and defense of 160%. He has another 60% attack and defense when facing superclass enemies. He gives extreme class allies key +3 in attack and defense of 40%. And he recovers 10% HP at the end of the turn in which an attack was received. He also has Big Bad Bosses, Thirst for Conquest, Fierce Battle, and Nightmare. So you are regaining 20% HP between the two of them. You're sharing all your major links. It's a very, very interesting situation. Lord Slug, as I mentioned before, very interesting situation. He's a unit that can age well because he's got various options. He's not tied to the Wicked Bloodlines team. He doesn't obviously have the craziest in terms of outright ability because of the fact that, you know, his links are kind of separated between two sides. But I think overall, he's very, very good. So for me, yeah, I think he's great. I think he's an incredibly solid option. Giant form wise, there's tons of options. You look at this Vegeta, also an incredibly good option. Very, very solid. So yeah, I think overall, there's plenty of choices. It's going to obviously depend at the end of the day on how you kind of want to operate in terms of units, like what team you're going to place him on. But I think this guy's a huge boost, and considering how weak teams like Giant Form is, I think this guy is a great pickup. So for me, I'm giving him an A+. I think he's just as good as Namek Goku. I really like both of them, and I think he's great. But that's it from me. Cheers guys, see you in the next one. Bye.